everyone, it's Elizabeth from Alpus Astrology at alpusastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So this is my take on the June 2022 astrological forecast for the month. I'm going to do an intro that will be the same for all signs and ascendants. And then towards the end of the video, I will actually go into your individual sign or ascendant. As usual, I prefer you to read first for or listen to your ascendant sign. That tells you what area of your life will be affected. And then you then should listen to your sun sign as well, because that just gives you a little bit more detail of what may be coming up for you in this month of June. All right, so we're going to start off with the 3rd of June. And the 3rd of June, we actually have Mercury retrograde that started in Gemini last month, now going direct, but it's going direct at 26 degrees of Taurus, which I thought was very interesting. So this whole Mercury retrograde has covered 2 signs. It's not totally unusual to have that happen, but you can imagine that Mercury is really more at home in Gemini. So when I saw this, as I looked at other aspects as well, and even though it's always positive to know that any planet, especially a Mercury retrograde, is going direct, but we're not out of the woods yet. So if you've been having some issues with any kinds of communications at all, contract negotiations, and it still doesn't seem to be resolving at the beginning of June, once this Mercury retrograde has gone direct, don't despair. It will go forward for you. Now, the thing that goes with this whole Mercury retrograde going direct is that we've got a square to Saturn. So that's adding in, at its most positive, a Mercury going direct with a square Saturn basically says disciplined thinking, right? So it could have you really getting serious about thinking about whatever it is that you need to do and being able to take some action on it. But it can also have another side. Saturn can actually dampen things down as well. So it might also be on this day that you are seeing things more negatively. And again, that kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning here, that we're not quite out of the woods yet with regards to Mercury coming out of its shadow. So hang on in there for a little while when Mercury will come out of its shadow period and then go into Gemini, its home sign, and things get resolved, especially with regards to any kind of communications or breakdowns in communications. And that actually is going to be on the 19th of June, where Mercury will go direct at 4 degrees of Gemini. So look to that week, the week around the 19th, where things actually start to really improve. All right, so when we look at the 4th, the next day, again, Saturn is highlighted, but it's because Saturn is going to go retrograde, and it'll go retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius. So this is going to be an influence of a few months. And I would say that with this whole Saturn going retrograde, it's really going to have, I would say, people in authority, institutions, that kind of thing, kind of staying in the background more instead of like laying down the law. This is more like, let's write some laws or let's rethink some of these things. So I see that as a positive thing with this Saturn retrograde. Now, if you do have anything around the 25 degree mark of Aquarius, you may have some kind of delay that happens unexpectedly where someone, maybe in authority, steps in and says, well, wait a minute here, you're not following the rules. You're going to have to do this, this, and this. So I guess knowing the heads up on that, I'm making this video I'm making this video on the weekend of the total eclipse in Scorpio. So you've got a heads up on that. If you are, putting together some plans, whatever, say you're, I don't know, building something or adding to a home, that you've got to get special approval from City Hall on that. So it's that type of thing I'm talking about occurring with this Saturn going retrograde. Yeah. Okay, so we have our first full moon on the 14th of this month, and it's a full moon at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, 25 minutes. It is at 4:51 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We have Mercury going direct, and it will be at 0 degrees of Gemini. So I thought that was interesting too. Anything that's at 0 degrees or 29 degrees of any sign are called critical degrees. So this does speak to some kind of communication. And because it's in Gemini, this could be the sort of foreshadowing of things resolving in that whole communication sector that will really take place around the 19th of this month. Now the moon in Sagittarius will be squaring Neptune, that is in Pisces. So this can bring in some illusions. Neptune also likes to dissolve things. So it would be a good time if you do have to get rid of some bad habits, like you're drinking too much or eating too much, that you can more easily do that, even though it's a square, but it'll certainly highlight this sort of thing where you've got bad habits potentially, and ask you to resolve some of them. We've got also the moon, though, will be sextiling a retrograde Saturn. So I saw this as positive, for sure, where maybe you are trying to resolve some bad habits of some sort, and or risk-taking as well. I mean, Sagittarius also can be a risk-taker. So with that square, it's saying maybe hold off on taking any risks to make your dreams come true, to make a wish come true. Something kind of like that's out there that you can't reach or can't quite hold on to. You're going to want to make it real with the Saturn involved here by sextile. Now you may get an opportunity because sextiles are opportunities, but because we've got that square happening there as well, it could just be that for some of us, that dream that you have, that wish that you want to make true, that vision that you have for yourself in the future, kind of seems to have a few clouds in it. But don't despair about that. This is just a temporary thing. And this is not an eclipse. It's just a full moon. It's going to bring something to light. However, this full moon harks back to another time when we did have a total new moon eclipse. And that was on the 14th of December, 2020. So I would say a useful way of using this full moon or utilizing this full moon energy is to look back and ask yourself what was happening around December 2020 that was new, that started new, and it was a total new moon eclipse. So this would have been a significant time, especially for Sagittarians and for the opposite sign, Geminis. This full moon brings things now to a conclusion and asks you, how are things going since you had that new start? So for Sagittarians, I would say that this is a time of reckoning is kind of the word that I'm coming up with, where some Sagittarians may have to look at that new start that they made in December 2020 or maybe January 2021 and ask themselves, is this working? Was this a little bit of an illusion? Because we've got Neptune now sitting on the full moon in Sagittarius. Or is this something that can become real, bringing the Saturn in, and I can get opportunities to make this more permanent? So Saturn is also about enduring effects as well. Okay, so the next thing we have is on the 17th. We have lovely Venus, lovely, charming, sweet Venus, who's described as the lesser benefic, is going to be conjuncting the north nodes in Taurus, 22 degrees. So if you've got anything around 22 degrees, or say your own north nodes are at 22 degrees, this could bring in love, money, or at least an increased value of yourself. Just a really positive effect, basically. It can stand for women as well, where maybe in the collective, we see a woman or women being brought into the news favorably. Maybe that whole thing, Roe versus Wade, actually gets resolved in a positive way for women. Okay, I want to go back to that full moon again in Sagittarius. I don't always look up the Sabian symbols. And Sabian symbols basically is a book that has every single degree of the signs, the astrological signs, and it gives you some information that could describe more what may happen at that time, whatever it is that you're looking at. So we always round up our degrees. So this we take up to 24 degrees of Sagittarius. And the Sabian symbol is beautiful. It's a bluebird perched on the gate of a cottage. I mean, just that image conjures up this lovely, warm feeling. It maybe makes us a little sentimental as well. But the bluebird is really a symbol of happiness. And then sitting on the gate of a cottage kind of reflects a well-adapted society. So that type of energy, and certainly the description that they use in the Sabian symbol, I think is something that we should bear in mind, that although there may be a few challenges at this full moon, the end goal will be a lot of happiness that will result of this. I mean, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter, of course, is the greater benefic. And it is like Santa Claus. It just wants to bring you gifts in the end. Might have to work for those gifts a bit, that's all. Okay, so this year we have the summer solstice that will be on the 21st, and I include a chart. So some astrologers take this as a whole 6-month effect. I tend to take it as more like a seasonal effect, so it's like a 3-month, 4-month effect here, till we have an equinox happening, and then the energies shift again. So it really is a major shift of energy. And in particular, we like to look at both the sun we already know is going to be at 0 degrees of Cancer, but then we look at the other planets, and in particular the moon. And so this year at the summer solstice on the 21st, we have a moon at 3 degrees of Aries. And so this says to me that the mood of the people, so the moon can represent the people, the mood of the people, is going to be very action-oriented. It can even be militaristic. So this can represent the military because Mars actually rules Aries. But it's also going to have a lot of people want to get on their own individual path, do things their way, and be emotionally more assertive and forward with regards to what they want. And like I said, I take this as covering an approximate 3-month period, the effects of this. So this will be all over the summer period. But it can give also, individuals a spotlight on them, right? So certainly for any Aries individuals, you could literally have a spotlight put on you for some reason, or asked to lead something. Aries is a cardinal sign, and that actually refers to a leader of some sort as well. All right, so the next thing that we have is we have the sun is going to be squaring this moon. And that is not a good thing at this summer solstice. I would say that there's going to be a discrepancy or an inharmonious type influence here between those in power and the people. So that's what I saw the sun in Cancer being, power. And in particular, it can be the homeland, right? Your homeland, exerting power over the people. And I mean, we're having that already happening in Shanghai and elsewhere in China. So that effect could represent this transit here at the summer solstice, affect the whole period of the summer with regards to that type of thing, that the people being held in check here against their will. The other thing that we have too is we have Venus going to be trining Pluto. Well, this just spells out desire. I want to do something here. Now, a trine can pass by without any real effects because it's so pleasant, but it is a very positive aspect. So this could be our money markets maybe. So Venus can represent money. I saw this, probably our money markets could improve here. I know we've had a few dips happening, but this could actually see over the summer period an increase for some folks. So we have lots of Aries that's happening at this summer solstice. I've already mentioned the moon at 3 degrees, but we also have Jupiter at 6 degrees, and then we have Chiron at 16 degrees. And Mars, which is the ruler of this moon in Aries, is at 20 degrees. So it seems to me that I think there may still be a lot of, like as I said earlier, military type action, individuals standing up and literally taking a stand, that type of thing, an expansion of that, especially with Jupiter in there. Okay. Let's move on to a retrograde that's going to happen. We're going to have Neptune retrograde at 25 degrees of Pisces on the 28th of June. Now, what's interesting is this 25 degree of Pisces also was where, very close to, within minutes, of that whole Jupiter conjunct Neptune that happened mid-April this year. It actually covered a lot of the whole period of April, but the exact was mid-April. So this could bring, for all of us, another highlight about literally reconsidering, rethinking that great inspiration we had with regards to the dreams that we wanted to make true. It could just have us maybe, with Neptune going retrograde, have us just being a little more circumspect with regards to, did I think too big? Did I take too many steps all at once? Do I need to reconsider that inspiration that I had? And was there a piece maybe missing from the picture? Was there a bit of fogginess or unclearness that I now need to address and look at? So that's how I would use this Neptune retrograde period. It'll be for a number of months. I don't see this as a negative thing. I think it's just something where it's a readjustment of maybe for some folks, taking those rose-colored glasses off, right? And just looking more carefully. It doesn't mean don't give up on your dreams, that's for sure, or the wishes that you want to come true. This is a fabulous year for that, for everybody. Now, especially for Pisces, for sure, this is going to be influencing Pisces that, say, have a sun around 25 degrees, or those folks that have an ascendant. And it's going to be a reconsideration, like I said, I believe, of those dreams, wishes that you had and that you felt inspired by mid-April of this year. All right, so we kind of end the month here with a new moon. And the new moon is going to be in Cancer, 7 degrees of Cancer, 23 minutes, on the 29th. So happy New Year to all my Cancer ascendants and my Cancer sons, especially to my brother John, whose birthday is on the 10th of July. So here we have the moon and the sun together because it's a new moon in Cancer, but it's going to be squaring Jupiter in Aries. Now, it's pretty hard to get a bad aspect with Jupiter, and I really felt that this whole square actually was promoting positive thinking and a lot of us feeling very generous. We're going to be having Mercury here at 18 degrees of Gemini. Now it's going to be in conjunct to Uranus, that is in Taurus. So that's at 17 degrees. So it's a 17, 18 degrees in conjunct. And I really saw this as a round peg trying to be put into a square hole. So there might be a little bit of anger and frustration around this new moon. And of course, Cancer is a very emotional sign. It's the sign of the mother. It's the sign of the family. It's the homeland. But this is a new start. So I would say that if you do feel generous at this time, feel free to use that in some kind of compassionate way, because Cancer also does elicit compassion and that type of thing. And the other thing, too, that a lot of people don't mention is that, of course, Cancer is very intuitive. So there may be some intuitive hits that come up here, especially with that whole inconjunct that we have with the now direct Mercury still in Gemini. But there may be some surprises here with regards to communications, because it's Mercury that is in Gemini, right? Just be careful with the anger and the frustration. Try instead to funnel that into energy that is more compassionate. Maybe even doing something in the home, because, of course, Cancer represents the home too, your literal home. We have a really nice wide sextile with Pluto and Neptune. So this is nice too. This is a supportive aspect that goes back to that whole mid-April of the Neptune conjunct Jupiter, where our wishes, dreams, some of us did have magic and miracles happen, but certainly there would have been some kind of inspiration. This just is a supportive aspect of that, where you may get a little more power, in personal power, to make more opportunities for yourself to push that dream forward. Okay, so that really ties up, in a small way at least, my view of the astrology in June 2022. So I'm going to move on now next to the signs and the ascendants. So Taurus, you know that you're hosting the north nodes of the moon, and you're also hosting Uranus. And Uranus is just about midpoint right now in Taurus. So there's 30 degrees in every sign. So this is kind of an interesting time period when we've got Uranus midpoint in a sign. So it says to me that there may be, for all Taurians, because you've got the influence of the north nodes of fate there too, some fateful things may be happening around this month of June. You've got the full moon in Sagittarius, which is going to be in your 8th house. So this says to me that there may be some secrets that come to light. You may have some far-reaching investments that you liquidate at this time. Maybe you put some money in investments years ago that you saw liquidating around this time for your benefit. Maybe you're going to be retiring. Some Taurians may be doing that. And the 8th house is where your pensions are, right? And or your 401ks that you decide, you know what, I'm going to leverage this. Or, for some Taurians, you may just feel, I need to take a big vacation. So Sagittarius full moon says, I want to travel to a foreign place. And that, you cash in some of those stocks and just decide to do it. So have some fun, Taurus. But at the very least, if there are some secrets that come to light at this time, because it's Sagittarius, it's going to be for your benefit, for sure. The other thing too is the 8th house represents our psychological self. It also represents our sex life. So there could be some conclusion that happens in either of those areas. And certainly Sagittarius brings a lot of positiveness and hopefulness and optimism. So I would also say maybe for some Taurians, you're ending some kind of psychological therapy where you've really changed your inner mind to be more optimistic and positive, and it becomes a more permanent part of who you are. That would be awesome. So the new moon in Cancer is in your 3rd house. And this new moon in Cancer sextiles your sign. So to me, this is going to be giving you some positive opportunities to either communicate or have some positive dialogue with either your siblings or your neighbors or in your neighborhood. But certainly it's going to be bringing some kind of new nurturing way, compassionate way from you, Taurus, with regards to how you communicate with others. The 3rd house, as an overall theme, is communication. So perhaps what I spoke about earlier when I mentioned that the full moon in the 8th house and your psychological self becoming more positive, there may be an overflow that's positive that sets up a new beginning for you with regards to your communication style. And people comment on it. But there could be some new way that, I don't know why I keep thinking the sibling part of it, but maybe there's been some fallout with siblings, and this new moon at the end of June, because of this new way of you being more positive, shifts the relationship, and you start having these positive interactions with your siblings, and things become more nurturing with regards to your siblings, and maybe your neighbors too. But it can bring in a new commercial venture too. So sales and commerce are also ruled by the 3rd house. But it'll have something to do with nurturing the mother, the homeland, and literally the home. So perhaps there's some new venture that you're entering into here. You're being given an opportunity. Maybe it's even in real estate. It could be that as well, where you decide to get your real estate license, and this is your new beginning. But you've got a lot of fateful things going on here with that new, with the north nodes here, and then with Uranus. We've got some interesting stuff that's going to be happening where the north nodes will be conjuncting Uranus, but that's going to be in the summer, in August, and I'll cover that more in my video, but I'm just giving you a heads up here, Taurus, that August may be a truly fateful and remarkable month for you with regards to changing your destiny path. And especially for those folks that have their north nodes in Taurus, August is going to be a key month for doors closing firmly and big doors opening up for you. So that's something positive to keep in mind, Taurus and Taurus rising. Take care. All right, so that wraps up the month of June 2022. I want to thank everybody for listening in, commenting. I have so much fun listening to your comments and writing back and giving you. I've got lots of new clients that have come in from all over the world. I want to say hello to everybody that I've been doing Zoom astrology sessions on. I've had so much fun with all of you. I'm just going to give you a little bit of heads up on the July 2022. We have Mercury and Venus going into Cancer. So if you've got any placements in Cancer, that's bringing good news, potential love for some Cancers, and some money maybe too. We're going to have Mars in Taurus conjuncting the north nodes of the moon. So this is bringing some action with regards to, especially those folks that have north nodes binatally in their chart in Taurus, as well as conjuncting Uranus. So some surprise new start for some folks that are associated with that north nodes in Taurus. We'll have a full moon that's in Capricorn. So for Capricorns, there's going to be some wrap up for you. And we'll have a new moon in Leo that I have mentioned already in Leo's forecast. I see that as a bright, shining star. So Leos, if you're having any challenges, know that that new moon on the 28th of July, which I will cover in my July video, is going to be a super positive time for you. And for some folks, there might be some fame coming your way, Leo. All right, I'm going to leave it there. If you want your chart done, as per usual, all the details are below in the text box. I love hearing from everybody, and I love doing everyone's astrology. Take care, and we're going to see you next month. Bye for now.